question for you. Do you think the world is going to Now I ask that because there's so much negativity in this world, and honestly, in my mind, I believe that a lot of people think this world is just going to shit. They don't understand how well we're actually doing. So I really wanted to figure this out. So this morning, I looked it up. Why do people believe that the world is not doing as good as it actually is? I found an article in Forbes called Why the World is Getting Better and Why Hardly Anyone Knows About It. It was written by Steve Denning, a senior contributor. And just let me break down some of the main parts of this. So, one of the first things this article says is, all things considered, do you think the world is getting better or worse? In Sweden, only 10% thought things are getting better. And in the US, that number was only 6%. The chances are that you don't think the world is getting better. More than 9 out of 10 people believe that the world is getting worse. So, this video, these facts might surprise you. So Steve Denning broke this article into 6 different parts, 6 different things that prove that the world is getting better, and it has facts to back it up. The first thing that he talked about is poverty. 200 years ago, only a privileged few were not living in extreme poverty at first. The progress was steady. In 1950, 75% of the world was still living in extreme poverty. But today, poverty's down to 10%. What makes this number so insane is that in that time, the population had multiplied itself by 7, and we still managed to get poverty down to 10% of our population. Number 2 is literacy. Over the last 2 centuries, literacy has gone from a tiny elite where 8 out of 10 people can read and write. Health. In the 1800s, more than 40% of newborns died before the age of 5. Now only a tiny fraction die before the age of 5. How come? Because modern medicine helped discover germs, but even more important were improvements in housing, sanitation, and diet. Number 4 is freedom. In the 19th century, almost everybody lived in an autocratically ruled country, and today more than half the global population lives in a democracy. The 5th thing he said was the population. World population was about 1 billion people in the year 1800 and has increased 7 times since then. In effect, humanity started to win the fight against death. Global life expectancy doubled over the last 100 years. Our life expectancy has doubled within the last 100 years. That's insane. Number 6 is our education. All these gains were enabled improvements in knowledge and education continues to improve globally. In this area, our world and data forecast a future where education will continue on its improvement path. With today's lower global fertility, the researchers expect that the number of children will decline from now. There will never be more children on the planet than today. It is expected that the world population will peak in 2070 and to decline thereafter. With the great importance of education for improving health, increasing political freedom, and ending poverty, this projection is very encouraging. So why don't we know this? Why don't we know about all this amazing good that is happening in this world? Because the media. The media today is 100% restricting what we see and the information we hear. And it all comes down to this. The media does not tell us how the world is changing. It tells us what's going wrong. It tends to focus on single events particularly that have gone bad. So I'm gonna tell you some quick little hacks that I use on a daily basis to make me avoid all the negativity. I get asked all the time, like, how do you stay so positive when there's just so much negativity out there between people hating on other people and the news and what we think is going on in the world and all that stuff. Now, the number one thing I can tell you to make yourself more positive and avoid negativity all the time is to cut television and cut Facebook completely out of your life. I don't even have a TV in my room. I never watch TV, and I barely get on Facebook unless I'm told to get on it or I get a notification that I see that I'm interested in looking at. But I never just endlessly scroll on Facebook, and I never listen to news or anything on television. The second main thing I do is I avoid really pay attention to who I'm following on Instagram and Twitter. Instagram and Twitter are by far my two favorite social media platforms. And I just make sure I don't follow any news, any political, any negativity on there. And if I do see anything that I don't like that I know will affect my mindset on a day-to-day, I unfollow it instantly. So the third thing I do is that I say no. People send me content all the time to watch. People want to show me videos and I'm like, no, I do not want to watch that. That will not add any value to my life. And I just feel no need in watching that. And some people honestly like are mad at it because they don't want to watch what they're interested in. But what I do my best is to let them know that I'm doing it solely just to keep my mind where I want it. I don't want to see something gross. I don't want to see something disgusting. I don't want to see people get in a fight or get hurt or people say things that I don't agree with. I just love keeping what I'm putting in my body as happy and positive as possible. Another thing you can do is you can restrict your social media access. One thing I just started doing was I limit my social media to an hour a day. And then if I have to, I can cheat to get more time out of it. It keeps in my mind that I don't need social media for my life. It keeps me from endlessly scrolling and wasting time. And it's honestly been making me a lot happier. And the last but not least thing is make sure you're taking in good media, whether that be you're taking the time to read books every day or you're taking the time to listen to audiobooks you want to hear every day. Just take the time to put in positive self-help, motivational, whatever that is, content that makes you feel good, that makes you think good and think better about the world and yourself and where you're going. And that's the reason I am how I am today. When I was in a bad place a couple years ago, I was put into a Tony Robbins environment. Then when I was alone in college, I was constantly listening to people like Gary Vee and Tony Robbins and all these people who had bigger goals than I could have ever imagined, and just listening to them and basically having them become one of my mentors was huge and is the biggest thing that I've ever could have done for myself. Alright, so that is it. That is the end of today's vlog. I hope you understand and believe that the world is doing better. The world is constantly getting better. The world is a beautiful place, and I hope you use what I do on a daily basis to make your life better and your life more positive and your life more happy on a daily basis. That's the end of today's vlog, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.